Hey, what's up, everyone? On today's Gospel Grit, I just want to continue this series it's not really a series, but just something that I think has been very beneficial to my life as of late. Whether it's come from studies or from, podcasts or just brothers who have been very solid and encouraging in this area. And it's foundational in a sense, but it's also kind of what needs to undergird all of our thinking, all of who we are. I've touched on it briefly on the created order some videos back, and how, just as Christians, and we really need to see that everything fits as it should fit because of the created order that we have been given, right? The created order, the way God has established this earth, the way that God has intended this world to function, to give God himself supreme glory, for him to be satisfied in us and us in him, for us to have supreme joy in this life. It's really bringing all of who we are and every detail of our life under this created order, and seeing where we can best align ourselves with the created order that God has given us. Because in that created order, whatever field it is, whatever different sphere that we're talking about, if we can begin to train our minds to really understand what does it look like for this area, whatever area that may be, you fill it out. How do I get myself to think in terms of that area and how that fits in the created order, that I could best give God glory in that area for my own joy because of the gospel? And so that's really what big picture that I'm trying to just always train myself, my family, my kids, in our conversations, our church body to think is there is an intended purpose in all that God has given us, and in those intended purposes there's great freedom, there's great joy, there's great happiness, there's a real sense of unity in those things, when we can really ask ourselves, what is the created order in said area? And this isn't to say that there's only one thing that, one way that we could do one thing, right? It isn't like that. That's a limiting view of the created order, but rather it's seeing the most transcendental reality of our life and saying, how does this fit in the worldview that we have, that God has given us, especially now as Christians, especially through the gospel. In fact, let me stop right there. It's only through the gospel that we can actually really ask ourselves these questions and wrestle with these realities. So all that to say, long intro, but for today's video, I really want to get into recovering a biblical humanity, humanity restored, or a theology of our humanness, I guess you could say. The more that we learn and find out what it means to be human, better said, what it means to be redeemed humans in Christ through the gospel, the more that we can really answer that question: what does my humanity in Christ now mean? What implications does it have now as a redeemed human in the family of God under the gospel, united to Christ? What change does this bring about in my life? And I think this foundationally, right, everything I said about the created order, and what that intends for our humanity, I think this is one of the biggest blind spots that we have today, is we really don't know what our purpose is as humans. We really do not have a full orbed understanding of what humanity in Christ is to be. And to this, you must go to the garden. You have to go back to Adam. You had to see what God's intent there was for Adam in the garden, to carry out the purposes that he was given to secure for himself a most blessed life for he and his progeny. right? And so now we in Christ, grace restores nature. We're restored. There's a real redemption about us, right? We're not just throwaways, right? No, he redeemed us. Just like this world is not a throwaway world, he's going to redeem this world in a very real sense. No, he redeems us, and he redeems our humanity. He redeems the image of God in us. He restores that so that now we can function as real humans, right? I think that's the question of the hour, is what does it mean to be a human? What does it mean to live a life that has purpose as humans? And this is the most fundamental question, and the Christian worldview, those of us who are in Christ, are the only ones who have the ability, because God has given us the ability in his word. He's given us sight, he's given us understanding, he's given us a new spirit, a new nature, to be able to discern these things. And so we as Christians should be the ones displaying what true humanity looks like on this earth. And I can't go into every facet of that, but I just would challenge us this week, and as we spend more time together as a church, as we ask questions, as we're hanging out, let's really get down to the core of what does it mean to be a redeemed and restored human, a Christian in Christ, in this created order, and how does that implicate everything in our life? How does that transform who we are as humans on this earth that God is governing as a created order? And I think when we ask that question and seek to find answers for that question, then and only then are we actually able to carry out a life lived for the glory of God. And so that's why this is the most fundamental question, is because we need to really ask ourselves, what does this look like in day-to-day life? How does this come to bear on day-to-day life? Because so many just want to make Christianity just a matter of the heart, a matter of spiritual, quote-unquote spiritual things, intangible things, things you can't see, things you can't touch. It's all, again, just a spiritual realm. But I mean, when you look at the scriptures, I don't see that really coming to bear. I see that it includes that, right? It is definitely not less than that, but it's more than that. It has those elements, but then that spreads into all of life. So really, this video is just, I guess, to stir us up to think about, what does a restored humanity look like? What does a redeemed humanity look like? What does it mean to be human? And better yet, a restored and redeemed human because of the gospel of Jesus Christ. What is God's desire for us as we live this life as humans in the created order? So just chew on that, wrestle with that, ask yourself those deep questions, and let's see what good can come from it.